Handle Your Business, a weekly podcast discussing a little of this and a little of that. Handle Your Business appropriately blends serious topics with fun topics, all in an effort to help you have a good or better life. So join me, your host, Lady Lashley, and some amazing guests every Sunday at 5 p.m. to explore everything from financial management to dealing with relationship challenges. Put it in your calendar every Sunday from 5 p.m. Tune in to Handle Your Business for a very helpful half hour to get you ready for the week ahead. For more details, follow at Lady Lashley TT on Instagram and Facebook. Handle Your Business. Welcome to another episode of Handle Your Business with yours truly, Lady Lashley. Today I have with me none other than Tobago's very own. We're claiming him in Tobago, right? Notwithstanding the other people that can claim him. But Tobago's very own, none other than recording artist Franz Job. Brother Job.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Listen, you and I have exciting conversations all the time. This time we're just bringing it to the people. And so for those who have tuned into this podcast episode, Franz and I are going to be discussing freedom. And that freedom comes with the concept of big city versus small island, right? And to give a little background information, freedom, because for France, the name France, if you just do a quick search as to what that means, there are different meanings, Frenchman, etc. But freedom is a significant part of that. And France, because you and I have spoke on different occasions, we've chatted about the concept of freedom and our human experience. I felt like this is a perfect topic for you. I hope that you agree with me on that one.
And I hope that I do it justice since you put me in this spot, Miss Lashley. That's my prayer. That's my prayer.
Do you ever not do anything justice?
I try my best every time, I try my best.
All right. So Franz, tell me a little about yourself, in the sense that if you and I had not known each other at all, and we were meeting for the first time and just having a conversation, let's say we bounce up by the bus terminus, we bounce up, by the botanical gardens, we bounce up on the tube in London somewhere, and we're just having a conversation. Tell me about yourself.
I would have to say that I'm unique, like in the true sense of the word. And I would have to start there, because I'm not being vain or pig-headed or anything, but not even me. I've never met anybody in Tobago with a story like mine, in terms of where I was born, where I was raised, who raised me, who taught me, and where I went after school and how I got back to Tobago. I met some people who, lived, whether it be in the US, in the UK, or any other part of Europe, who has traveled between Trinidad and Tobago, and like their parents were from Trinidad and Tobago, like mine. But in terms of the length of the story and the depth of it, I don't think I've come across anybody who has such a tale to tell. So meeting me for the first time, Glendora, if you never knew me from Adam, I would have to say, hey, you never met nobody like me before. You see, and again, I'm not saying that. Yeah, in a nice soft tone, And I'm not saying it in a vain way again, but it's just the truth, yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your story, as much as you're willing to share, just briefly, in terms of your unique background, because I find it fascinating. So you were born where? You moved where? Who raised you? Some of the things that you just mentioned there.
Well, I was born in Hackney, London. That's East London. And I was born there because my father, to begin with, left Tobago, left the country in those days in the UK, there were invitations sent out to people from the Caribbean to come over to work, whether it be to work in the health industry, whether it be in transport, in factories and whatnot. So my dad went over there and he found work as a bus conductor, then became a bus driver, and lived and worked out there in the end, for nearly 30 years. But after a couple of years after moving out there, he came back to Tobago and got married to my mom. And 2 years later, I came along after they went back to England to settle. Now, in them times, they had this little, they have this 5-year plan where most people from the Caribbean, when they go abroad, say, all right, I'm going to go out there, work for 5 years, save some money, and come back home. But after you have children, you know what I mean, then those things, those plans can change,
Mm-hmm.
So especially given the tension, the tenor and tempo of the time over there during the 70s, a lot of racial tension, that prejudice in that respect. So to kind of ease themselves of the load of having to raise a newborn and to work doing the jobs that they were doing, it was more fitting for them to bring me home to Tobago and for my grandparents to raise me up and my auntie, in Charlottesville. So that's how I came to Charlottesville from the UK after being born out there.
What age you came to Charlottesville at?
I was 18 months old.
Right. And then you've been here, you went to school here, and then you went back to the UK.
Yeah, got taught in Charlottesville, had some of the best teachers. I always brag and boast about them, because I don't think that I would be in this position today doing what I'm doing and doing it where I'm doing it if it wasn't for my teachers when going to school in Charlottesville, and after Charlottesville, Roxborough Sec, and then Scarborough Sec and Signal Hill. And then right after, straight out of high school, literally, I went back to the UK to live with my parents again.
Right. So you did primary school here, secondary school here, and then you went back to the UK at what age? I
was 16 going on 17.
16 going on 17. And you stayed out there and then you came back here?
Yeah, stayed out there for another spell, 20 years, 19, 20 years, and been back in Tobago since 2013.
Right. So, and that's why the topic is really, the subtopic is big city versus small island, because you have experienced both in different phases. And so I know from talking to you, at least at this point in your life, your choice is to be on the small island. And that's what I want to get at, because many of us, particularly with different experiences to yours, we may be here on the small island and feel like, listen, we need to be out there in the big city. We need to go foreign. You understand where I'm coming from? You, on the other hand, been out there, done it, and you choose to come back to the small island. So I want that perspective from you. Why did you choose to come back?
Well, firstly, me choosing to come back is not it's not me being adverse to anyone who might want to go to the other direction. You know what I mean? Because it is definitely an experience worth having. And because of that experience out there, I could have come back now and say, all right, then, I've been out in the UK for such and such a time. I've done some things that I wanted to do, and I've still got, I still have some things that I want to do. Where is the best place that I can do these things? Especially when, at the time, when I was making that move there, Glendora, there was, just before that time, was the great downturn, the economic depression that happened between 2007, 2008. Yeah. And all the side effects, or you could say the drawbacks from all of that was taking place in the workforce.
Pressure in Babylon.
Pressure, you know what I mean? So a lot of things were changing in terms of work. A lot of things were changing in terms of, basic social living, and at the time, relationship wise, that was changing too. So with me looking at things in through my own lens, looking at it carefully and trying to make a decision, there was, after a while it became clear, because had I not made the move, I don't believe that I would have been positioned doing the things that I'm doing now in Tobago at the time that I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Which is now. I don't think it would have happened if I had hesitated,
Right. But do you think that your choice to return to Tobago was because you had like a serious, deeper appreciation for the island, or was it simply because you had a base here that could count as a safe haven for you?
No, I never think, if let me tell you this, if I used to approach things with the mindset of establishing a safe haven, I wouldn't have done nothing, because all the things that I've done had some element of risk to it, and not just some element, but a high degree. Me having to make a decision to move from the UK back home at that time was even when I was doing it, I was almost like hands off, and it was like a great wind ushering, blowing on my back, ushering me to do and to go where it blowing me to go. Because when I got here, from the beginning, my parents they wasn't happy about it. Yeah, they wasn't happy about it. As a matter of fact, my mom, who passed, but she's gone now. My mom passed away. She expressed to me that, she's got the nature of like being very soft sometimes, when she talks to me about my well-being and stuff like that. She worries plenty. So it made her kind of, anxious as to what is Franz going to come to Tobago and do. You know what I mean? He's been out in the UK for all this time. And what I think compounded it was it was going to be my first ever spell of adult life in Tobago.
Right.
So that for me was one of the things that I too was anxious about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those things were always alive in my moves. So the safe haven thing and safety net thing, no, I actually tuned out of that. I couldn't think like that, because the moves would have never been made otherwise.
Yeah. I think I told you this before, but I have found your choice so fascinating. I mean, not just because those of us here, they say you don't really appreciate what you have when you have it, when you're in it, because you're living your everyday life thinking about your burdens and so on. So I'm pretty sure had we been friends on any level at that time, I might have said, but Franz, you're a madman. Whoa, you know what I mean? Like, Bagel and her nothing, dog. Bagel and her nothing. What are you going on there to do?
Well, see, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I mean, my mother and I, my dad sometimes, but my mother and I used to always have this debate, because before moving home, I used to travel like every year or every other year, on holiday, come home, see family and, and all of that type of thing. And every time I come, since they moved back to Tobago, we always had that chat, you know what I mean? And even on the phone, and it was always a to and fro, a back and forth, you know what I mean? And she was always strong in her defense of me remaining in the UK, you know what I mean? And, building whatever I want to build on that side of the pond, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not only me had other plans, the great Almighty also had other plans for me, I think. And that's why I think things turned out the way it did.
Right. So the universe sent you this direction. And I am also fascinated about the aspects of the island that you have embraced and in a sense allowed you to flourish or thrive or survive, whatever it is that you're doing. Because I still probably does watch you, you know, a little side eye with the decision to be here. Just knowing
you could watch me side eye all you want.
Yeah, man, because I ain't fronting. I'm telling you, I to some extent still have my own thoughts that listen, boy, this place, it takes a special kind to embrace this place for all that it is. But I tell you this, there's a song that you have. The other night I was listening to your Spotify catalog, and I think it's in the Tobago song. I can't remember, or Shallow one. But anyways, there's one where you talk about Tobago. You know, the place where nobody in a rush. I mean, everybody taking their time. You know, and I listen, man, I had a good laugh. I think I spoke to somebody or a few people about that. I say, you know, Franz is a madman for real, you know. Because because that's the thing, that if you are 60, that's the thing that could send you crazy. But you with your creative, you know, eccentric, whatever self that you have going on there, you made that thing sound so enticing.
It's a good thing. It's important not to rush, you know. All right, then let me fast forward a little bit. Today, I also teach. I also do drive intuition, right? So that is even more profound in my philosophy now of not rushing, because that's one of the main things that I have to tell my students to do. Slow down, slow down, slow down. Take your time, you know? So I think in more ways than one, when you look at the way that we move here, if you look at it from a different perspective or different perspectives, you could see that there are some benefits to the way we move. But as long as it's balanced, it would be good. If it's imbalanced, then it wouldn't work. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, I suppose, you know, really having the appreciation for those beneficial things, because I mean, it's not like life is all bad. And like I say, when you're in it, and you're dealing with your own struggles, you know, most times you're looking for a way out of your struggle. And unfortunately for us, who spent most of our time here, we grew up with that other part of our programming that has subtly been saying to us from baby to now, foreign is better, foreign is better, foreign is better. So people will risk their lives to move and go foreign. You understand? Mothers leave their children here to go out there with a plan to send for them or to send back things for them. But you have like, you know, a grown-ass man out there experiencing it all, and you choose to move to a place of solace. Let me put it like that.
You might think that I know something that everybody else don't know. You might think so, eh?
But no, but what I'm saying, I mean, it works. What I appreciate about you is that I could be wrong, but I think that your choices speak to a deeper sense of self and purpose, even if you mightn't realize it in the moment, you know, because I mean,
because I didn't at the moment. Precisely. At the moment when I was doing it, I didn't know. Yeah. But you're correct, yeah.
How has the experience been from 2013 to now? You in Tobago navigating as a creative, trying to find a space. What has that been like for you?
It's been great. Been great, man. It's been great. One of the best periods of my life, really. I have to admit, because when I came to Tobago, my initial aim was to start my band and to have all my players come from Charlottesville, which we did, barring one player who come from Speyside, but we count him as Charlottesville man same way. You know what I mean? And for us to get together and to practice and to get better and to play out and to do everything. And we did it to some degree. The only thing that we never did was to leave the country, which was one of the main things that I wanted us to do, to travel, to play and travel.
Right.
So that was like, I was like, whoa, okay, what a great start. And I'm a believer of starting how I mean to go on. You know what I mean? So if I start good, I'm definitely going to do everything in my power to keep it going good. And the band thing, well, the band had split up. So, but that still never disenchant me. I kept on recording and writing and doing all that type of stuff. I had Anikwa with me also, working with her, and she always believed, because I always told her, I say, Kwakwa, the time is gonna come where we're gonna do some great things together, you watch. And she believed and she stuck with it. And today she's like my first protege, the first person that I've had come up under me in an arena like this, where we do recording, preparing for stage, that type of stuff, and everything else that goes with it. So she's like the first person whom my own creative talents and skills have been used to forge, someone coming up. So that's exciting to me. That's real satisfaction right there. You know what I mean? So there ain't no complaints coming from me whatsoever. You know what I mean? Not one. Even during the time where you have a period where you have a little lull and you have to reassess some things and redesign some things to move forward again. Them things happen too, as it does with most people who are on a journey. You know what I mean? But I always remember the first move. They say the first move is the hardest move, and that move to make to come here was the hardest move. So everything else easier. That's how I look at it.
Right. So looking ahead. Well, before we go ahead, your inspiration, because it seems like in a lot of your music, you draw inspiration from the island. Like anybody listening to your music, you could hear the difference between when you were in the UK, when you're in Tobago, even I suppose when you were out there, perhaps thinking a bit about Tobago as well. But what sort of inspiration do you get from the small island versus what you got from the big city?
A brethren of mine, right? I'll call his name, Dylan. He from Black Culture Sound, from Charlottesville, just like me. Dylan tell me, say, Franz, you must go down by the sea, go down by the sea and sit down. Go down by the beach and sit down and just watch out in the ocean. And just think about what you have to do and will it. You know what I mean? Don't just sit there and will it, but after you sit down there and will it, when you leave the beach, go and work on it. And it will come true. And I'm always by the sea. You know what I mean? I go down there to exercise and things. Sometimes I jump in the water. And I find myself just doing that in a Glendora. And things that I thought about, I kid you not, things that I thought about, things that I pondered on down at the seaside, everything worked out in a fashion, not even at the time I could have envisaged. You know what I mean? Sometimes some of the things exceed my expectation. Not out of no kind of mythical or kind of supernatural force type of thing, but sheer will and determination. It kind of reinforces it. Because when you understand, if anything that you do on the sand is harder than when you're doing on a hard surface, If you're running on the sand, it's more effort. If you're walking on the sand, it's more effort. You know what I mean? So when you do anything on the sand, when you do anything on that, in that environment there, and you put your mind and your effort and your energy towards it, it manifests itself. And that's one of the things that I appreciate most about here. And I draw most of my inspiration and my vibe come from simply from them natural places like that, by the seaside, you know?
Right.
Yeah, or on the hills, up Flagstaff Hill somewhere, or up by Fort King, up by Fort Camberton,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sites. And to me, this is perhaps where we may be on a sort of parallel existence there, because while I have my own personal views about the human energy on the island, I will always say that there's an unmistakable healing energy,
Most certainly.
therapeutic energy
Yeah.
that this island called Tobago gives. The natural elements of the island, France, you know, really, really amazing. You use the beach. There are some of us who may not always use the beach, but like some of the park spaces, the green spaces, the rivers.
That's right, yeah.
For me, I could tell you, this, and I'm not like one of them yoga meditation persons, but I could tell you this. You see north side Bloody Bay, you are east man, I'm a north side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You see that Bloody Bay
I travel from north side too. I go around them places too.
Right.
Yeah,
so you understand where I'm coming from. You see that north side stretch on a cool day, no matter what time, where the green just lush and the place peaceful. I kid you not.
Something. You want to hear a quick short story? When I was doing some work with the primary schools for music festival, they assigned me the Division of Education. They assigned me to Lansome and Roxborough Sec and Roxborough Anglican School and Delaford RC School. And I used to have to make my rounds, right? So I used to start in Lansome and then come back to Roxborough. And when I driving through north side, you know what I used to do? When I reach the top pinnacle, I used to come out the car, park up the car, come out and take some deep breaths of that air there, and then continue my journey and go to Roxborough. Every time. Every single time.
You see, well, you know,
I know the thing. Man.
You know it. Because of me, what I try to do, once I in my own vehicle, that is, come out, stand in the middle of the road, right? Because you know, I have this thing, maybe how I grew up, I don't know, but I like the sole of my foot, right? I like the sole of my foot to touch the natural ground, right? Whether asphalt, I prefer the dirt, but not everywhere will have the dirt, so dirt, grass, asphalt, but I like that kind of connection, you know, like that electricity grounding. I feel like that's important. And I always feel like that spot up there, you understand?
Yes,
you could get at. There's another place, I don't know if when you go into Argyle Waterfall, right? When I have all them set of people there, right? But when you're going into Argyle Waterfall, you walk in where the overhanging trees just kind of shade you. Watch me. That's something.
When you're going through there, it's like you could be in another country, you know?
Yes.
You could be in another country when you're going through. If you take a picture of yourself in there, then you tell them, oh, this is somewhere out in some forest, somewhere in the States or some part of Europe somewhere. They would believe you.
Absolutely, really absolutely amazing. I think I just kind of sometimes wish that, I suppose, you know, the parts of the island that you have such a deep appreciation for, and that me, when I'm not grumbling about other things, keep in the back of my mind, because that's how I stay sane. That's part of how I try to stay sane, connecting with nature. Like simple in tongue, I'm going to Botanic Gardens. You know what I mean? Or one of those green spaces and kind of sit and chill out, because that is re-energizing. But you know, you do it on a different level. And again, that's why I wanted to have the conversation with you, because I suppose for many of us who may be thinking, you know, of your options and so on, this, if nothing else, might just kind of serve as a reminder, or maybe who never knew may be able to think about it in a different way, about the different elements that the island and the region even, because we're all kind of similar in terms of the Caribbean islands, what it may have to offer. So as we talk France and freedom, what's one significant thing about your journey so far that you've perhaps never really paid much attention to, didn't expect to happen? You know, like what's kind of one of those things that just really stand out for you that you have serious appreciation for now?
The opportunity, number one, is the opportunity to work with children. It is something that I thought I would never do as as a child growing up, and because I was never a people person, you know, as a little boy, I was very bashful, you know what I mean? Like, you know, loner. If you wanna pick out a loner from any group in school, I would be like the number one loner. You know what I mean? I never really socialized well as a boy in school, primarily because I was a chubby kid. You know what I mean? And my movements, like when after passing for Roxborough Sec, I got transferred from Roxborough Sec to Scarborough Sec. Then Scarborough Sec in those days was Scarborough Sec and Compre. So after I went to Scarborough Sec, then went to Signal Hill. So I was always moving from place to place and never having a chance to really settle down and be with any one group of people for no length of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think from the beginning, my path was always, you know, gearing in that direction. So being that type of person, that loner person, I was, you know, always to myself. You know, I was to myself most of the time. So
Right.
you
The
know,
children.
yeah, working with the children now, it come in like it must have there must have been something or some things that happened in between that time from growing up to now as an adult that changed to make me see or make me be willing to do that, because I was approached. It wasn't something that I said, oh, I want to go and work with children. So people saw me and saw how I was moving, a la one of my past teachers, Mr. Moore, Anthony Moore. He came up to me and he said, Franz, you know, you'll be doing some music work and thing over here in Tobago, and you know, you've been doing it for a while and whatnot. The education division looking for some musicians to help with tutoring children to perform folk and that type of thing for music festival. You think you might want to join them, give them a hand with that? I say, so you think I could do that? He said, yeah, man, what do you mean? So I said, all right, I'll try it. And trust me, Glendora, watch now. The first day I went to one of them schools, which was Delaford RC School, top school, you know that school there?
Yeah.
So I went there now, and I make sure I plan it. I make sure I like rehearse it. I see me in front of the mirror and think, yeah, I did all that. And I went in and so on and introduced myself. But all the time leading up to it, I was saying to myself, Franz, you have to kind of make something different, you know, in terms of your approach. You have to kind of do something that you never really seen anyone else do in terms of, you know, interacting with children, just to allow yourself to free up with them. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of like go into their space and kind of, you know, come into like assimilate with them, you know, kind of mesh. So one of the first things when I went to the school now, I said, okay, this is how we're going to address each other. You're not going to call me sir. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to call me sir. You're going to call me Brother Franz. That's my name. Anytime you see me, Brother Franz, okay? I mean, if you can stop the slip of the tongue because they are accustomed calling the teachers sir and miss and so on. But eventually they got it, you know? And not only that, but we're going to address each other as brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so.
Right.
And I think that was one of the things, after seeing them react to that and how on how they were like, excited to do it. There were still some children excited to do something that you never think they would be excited to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And after everybody is brother this and brother that. And when they see me on the road, they shout me out, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they're in tongue with the parents and they run into each other, they say, "Oh, miss, look, brother Franz," you know what I mean? And so on. And those things there, that was one of the things that helped me. The association with children, because I know that is one thing I remember. That is how I feel about my teachers. I remember them for life. And I think that if I could ever make any impact, leave any footprint in Tobago, that opportunity with children is going to be the number one. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I like that. When you think about London, right? When you think about Babylon City, what's your memory? What's your favorite memory? Is there anything that you miss sometimes? Is there anything that you have a longing for? Is there anything that stands out for you right now?
Yeah, London is my you would have to say my first home, like literally. So it's it would forever be in my heart. You know what I mean? Like some of my best times were in that place, and not just London, but different parts of the country too. I think it's bittersweet, because as well as some of my best times being there, some of my lowest moments were there too. So I have a mixed bag, so to speak, of feelings and thoughts about England. But it was, I have to say, the greatest preparation ground for me after Charlottesville and Tobago to propel me to the level that I have to be on now to operate doing the things that I'm doing. I wear a few hats. I wear a few hats right now, so I have to be like changing costume ever so often, throughout the week, and always be ready to execute whichever arena I'm in. You know what I mean? So I think being in a fast-paced place like that, with four seasons with one of them lasting for more than half the year. And we all know which one that is. You know what I mean? I don't even want to call the name because it's gonna.
Yeah. Well, I like to say you can get all four in one day up there.
All that too, and we did for a few times well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But barring all of that, or not barring it, but with considering all of that, I think all of that even contribute to my tenacity, and how determined I can be. Right. Because I had to be determined. You take determination out of here in Glendora to have to go to work at night in the winter time. You know what I mean? Them things take real determination and commitment. So I think being out there at that time was a prep ground for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was at the time I didn't know. It's only in hindsight now you could look back on it and say, all those things that you went through, that was the reason.
That might be the advantage you have on the rest of us here, because you when you survive, in those, that place is brutal. I mean, when it's nice, it's nice, but depending on what's happening in your life, that place is brutal. So to survive that, Tobago, and I suppose the Caribbean, is a sockeye kind of experience.
I wouldn't say that neither. I wouldn't say sockeye, No,
well, it's not easy, yeah? Don't get me wrong.
No.
It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
It's not easy at all, but I mean, maybe, you know what I like to say sometimes? This is my analogy, I don't know, because I remember in the little bit of time sometimes that when I was there, like you're in a house with other people, but you don't even see them, right? Because of work times
That's
and
right.
so on,
That's
right?
Yeah.
Like I remember even the very first time I went on vacation, France, I remember we were in a detached 2-home unit, right? So it's one building, 2 houses in one, like a townhouse type thing, detached, right? And even seeing the people in the other house far more the rest of people on the street. You understand? I used to look out my window in my room, the room that I had, and kind of look at this doctor man. I think they said he was a doctor. He was driving a BMW, and this was like a middle-class part of London. And, you know, I kept thinking, well, boy, in Tobago, that man might be a rich man, but out there, you know, he's just a normal middle-class man. And I remember, like, one of the key memories I actually had wasn't the man, because I hardly ever saw the man, but I saw when the car was there, when it wasn't there. You know what I mean? You go to work, and as I say, depending on the weather, you know, it's that's just another thing to deal with. But when you're in Tobago, for me, one of my appreciations about Tobago and the Caribbean region, I just say, there's some kind of outer time in neighbor, family, and friends and thing. They go by talk you, they go try and maybe go by a man faith. That's what they believe in, all kind of shit. But if you are hungry to the point that things real bad, once you never really do them nothing, you know what I mean? You know they go send food for your underlo.
You would never starve.
You understand where I'm coming from? I see women feed their husband outside children. You understand? And it had nothing to do, you know, it was just a kind of, you can't make the child starve. You understand? I mean, it's a real evil people out there. We're not talking about them. We're just talking about a general way of life. You know, I always say, bad talk me. I don't care if you bad talk me. I don't care if you don't like me. I ain't doing you nothing, because I know if I want 200 banana, I could pass an axe or two or send somebody and I will get it. You know, so that's what I mean when I say, because out there, I don't know what your experience is. For me, I didn't actually live out there like you, and I didn't actually have like close people to me. I lived in a close space, in the sense that in a close home where I could get everything, but it's not like if when you're home next to other family that you could ask for something, or you had a kind of security. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think with, like, you just differentiated, you not like living out there compared to how I was living out there for that extended period of time. Well, I think the difference in my situation would be, throughout the years, you make friends with different people from different Caribbean countries. I always tell people that outside of the Caribbean culture lives richest, fattest in England. You know what I mean? That's where Caribbean culture is, you know? So you don't ever go void of that atmosphere, that fervor. You know, you don't go void of it, because everywhere you look, there are people who look like us, who sound like us in London, especially if you're in London.
So you might have been able to call, if not a fellow Tobagoan, you might have been able to call a Jamaican, a Guyanese, Vincentian, Barbadian, Dominican.
That's right. Even your African brothers and sisters too, because you would have met them in your workplace. You'd have met them in entertainment, when you go out, whether it be to a show, or you're into clubbing or whatnot. You would meet them in different events and in different organizations. You know what I mean, for Black people. So you always had that neighborliness there, same way in the UK. Yeah, you always had it. You know, you couldn't put it this way, you couldn't escape it.
Okay, lovely.
Even if you were a loner like me, who I must say, eventually I grew out of being a loner. Let me say that. Well, yeah, man, I grew out of it, man. I'm one of the I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm the life of the party, but yeah, I cool now. You know what I mean?
Yes, cool. Much more of an extrovert.
Yeah, I am now. You know, but similarly, you know, you have that type of thing I can't speak for the United States because I've never lived there, but in England and in different European countries, some other European countries, you have that type of.
I think you might have it there in the US as well. I didn't necessarily live there either. But in the longest time that I went there, where I had to do like a kind of 9-to-5 situation. I remember I chose to live on Staten Island, but I went across to Brooklyn. This is New York. And I kid you not, like my perception was like, boy, it's like a Caribbean market, yes.
Yes, especially when you go to them places, yeah, man.
Yeah. You know, I guess the good thing is that in those bigger spaces, you know, you have little niches and so on, where you find your own things. Because I know for me, some things I didn't eat here in Tobago before really traveling. Like one of the things there's a shop in House, then I don't even know if the shop's still there, a food shop.
Selling what?
Watch me. Jamaican food. Jamaican food.
Don't tell me the name of the place. Selling what? Jamaican
Kalaloo.
food.
Right? Ackee and saltfish. Kalaloo and saltfish. Green fig, right? Green banana. Right? Dumpling, boiled dumpling, fried dumpling, escovitch fish, wherever you want. Listen, Franz, I had to do some work in Houston for 1 week. 1 week. Watch me. I might have married a chef if he had asked me, boy, what? Watch me. A nice looking Jamaican Rasta man, you know, but by that food, me not lie. That food, listen, you know, you have some moments that's nostalgic for you. The next time I go to London, I am going to see if the shop is there. I don't know if it's still there.
I used to the same way. I used to live in there like you, Glendora. I used to always eat Caribbean food. I never got out of that. Yeah. Whether I cook it myself or I get it takeaway. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the most popular Jamaican takeaways, Caribbean takeaways are Jamaicans.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. In the UK, you know? And sometimes they make things for other Caribbean people to palate, you know what I mean? So they might modify some things, you know, so that, you know, because every community in the UK, whether it be Pakistani, Indian, Greek, Turkish, they all tailor make their food to suit the British palate. You know what I mean? So, and that includes the Caribbean people too.
Yeah.
So you would,
watch me. Listen, no vex me this summer. Let me wrap up. I went to the roti shop. I used to do a 9-to-5 in Deptford High Street. Yeah. Man, me I look for roti because nothing there. Wasn't really. It had a Jamaican shop closer up to where my bus stop was, and then it had down at the end of the high street, closer to the river. They had they say it have a Trini roti shop there. Man, I get excited. I say, right, I'm going down for a roti and a red solo. Me, I don't even drink solo, you know, soft drink so much. Say I going down there. France, we going on the shop. I say, well, right. I'll come for a roti and a red solo. Boy, when Tanti give me that roti and the red solo, me vexing her. I eat it now.
Is it a bake?
No, the thing was, it was tailored for the British palate.
Right.
And that shocked me, and I wasn't expecting that. That was right. Yeah. And then I see she had somebody, you know, a guy was there before me, and she gave me the thing. And she gave me a knife and fork, boy. And I'm telling you, listen, I had to shut my mouth, you know, say, you know, you have to keep your bad ways to yourself.
Hold that.
I watch and say, well, what kind of thing really going on here, so? You're standing a roti and you're giving man a knife and fork. But all of that is part of the learning process. You know, I hush my mouth, I take the thing, and I sit down and eat it and say, nah, this is not what I was looking for, but I was still happy.
No. Yeah. You just get acquired to it. You just acquire taste, and you go on.
Because you could really be missing. You could really be missing your food. But anyway, my brother, you see, we could talk forever. You know. My last question to you: My last question to you as we wrap, what's next, as far as you could see right now, for Franz Job? What's next?
I think a lot of it hinges on me going as far as I decide to go in the teaching arena. I find that most of my work is heading in that direction. I have my driving school. I have some people in my corner who I work with, who I find myself every day relaying a lot of what I've learned onto them. I have certain wishes, like different projects and different aims and purposes that I'm working towards, and they all seem to steer in that direction where I'm imparting something to the people who I live around, you know?
Right.
So I think that's one of the main things that I'll be doing plenty of, is teaching, and it's not confined to any one space or to one sector, you know?
Right.
I always have my musical aims. I have a lot of work doing, writing, recording with Aniqua and a couple other people who are in Tobago and outside of the country, in Berlin and the UK. I have a serious program with my little niece. Now I rate this just as I rate anything else I'm doing. Who I'm actually coaching to play basketball. I want you to be a point guard, Glendora. I want you to be the floor general. You know what I mean? So I do drills and stuff with her, like during the week, and to have her come up because she's very passionate about playing basketball. So I have all of those things to occupy my day or days of the week, you know, currently. You know, and whatever else comes along, especially when we reopen to the idea of playing live again on stages and things with an audience, all of those things are always in my realm too, you know. So like I say, like I have a few hats wearing, so the main thing for me is to pace myself and to remember to sleep. Because my auntie, you know my auntie from Charleville, right?
Yes.
She always tell me, Franz, you're gonna find out later, you know. You must sleep. If you don't sleep, it's not very good for you. So that is one thing that I'm trying to do too. So that's one of my aims, to sleep more.
Yes. Take her advice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very, very serious. And as we age, it is important. But I'm happy. I'm always happy to talk to you. You know that. Maybe you gave me some therapeutic release in this conversation. But definitely, selfishly for me, I'd love to hear more from you. I know you have all of these things, and you're in the giving season where you're looking after, and you know, you're growing your seeds and so on. But every time you get a chance where you are behind the mic with your guitar, you know, you have to send me those links, because I was even listening to your the collab that you had with
Cleon. Yes, that's another thing that we have going to.
Precisely.
You know what I mean? Big thing coming up, man.
Yeah. And I have a milestone birthday coming up that if I get to do the things I want to do, you know, hopefully I get you to sing for me. I ain't necessarily going to keep a big party or anything, but I really just want to do.
Just say the word.
I want to do something. I want to be selfish. I want to do something for me, and so I've always had a list of people that I want to perform live for me, and of course you're on that list.
Nice. I'm honored.
Yeah. So let's
fingers
crossed that happens. But Franz, brother Franz, Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
For taking so much out of your time and us having this conversation. Like I say, it was therapeutic for me. I don't know if it served you any purpose, but
yes, it was a pleasure for me too. Very satisfying. Yes.
Yeah. So
no doubt.
Thank you again. And at the end of the day, the podcast is so that whenever whoever listens to it, whatever going on in your life, you must be able to handle your business.
Handle Your Business, a weekly podcast discussing a little of this and a little of that. Handle Your Business appropriately blends serious topics with fun topics, all in an effort to help you have a good or better life. So join me, your host, Lady Lashley, and some amazing guests every Sunday at 5 p.m. to explore everything from financial management to dealing with relationship challenges. Put it in your calendar every Sunday from 5 p.m. Tune in to Handle Your Business for a very helpful half hour to get you ready for the week ahead. For more details, follow at Lady Lashley TT on Instagram and Facebook. Handle Your Business.